I know this video is long, so go down to the description below if you just need the list without the explanation.
Hi, I'm Eric. I filmed my phone and welcome to another video. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2021. Hopefully it's better than the last year. You know, everyone was like 2020 is going to be a year and then not quite. But, you know, 2021, it's a fresh page. It seems like there's some things that are happening that means some progress will be made in certain departments. I'm excited to see that. Will it be enough? We'll find out. But like, I'm optimistic, and that's just me by nature. So yeah, I'm excited to see how this year goes for everyone in comparison to last year. 2020 was, however, a great year in music because a lot of people dropped projects that they probably weren't even planning on doing, or they had amazing albums that were already planned and they did really well. So I'm hoping that 2021 also brings us a lot of good music as well. It might be less on the quarantine projects unless they were made during most of the quarantine in 2020, or it might be like just brand new releases that happen. I'm just altogether really excited to see what music has in store for this year. To share my excitement with you, I came up with a list of 50 artists that I would love to receive new albums from in this year. Basically, I tabulated this out of people who hadn't released full albums in 2020. They might have released singles, they may have released EPs, but I was gravitating towards people who didn't release full albums in 2020 or like really late 2019. If it seems like they were a part and they're still doing stuff for like their previous album's release, I'm probably not touching it. And this is just a summative list of 50 artists. It doesn't mean these are the only 50 artists I would like to hear an album from in this year. There are plenty of others, and feel free to leave your thoughts down below on what artists you also would like to see albums from this year, as well as who did I miss and who should I be looking forward to receiving an album from. Anyways, let's get into it. This list is entirely alphabetical, so first and last doesn't matter. They're all like, I'm excited. First off, we have Adele. Adele mentioned that she has an album in the works. It's not done yet as of the SNL performance. However, like, I'm optimistic that she got it done during the rest of this year and that it will sometime release in 2021. It's been a long time since we've heard her, and I would be really happy to hear what this amazing singer has to say. Next, we have Alessia Cara. Alessia Cara dropped The Pains of Growing at the end of 2018, and then she did a little like this summer EP in 2019. And then I haven't really heard much from her. I know she's done some songs, I think, for like TV shows or movies, and that's chill and all. But I would love to hear where she's at now. Is she still following a more acoustic route? Is she going back to her more electro pop, not quite electro pop, but like soft electric pop roots? I don't know. We'll see. Like, I just think she's had a lot of like hit songs before, and also just songs that I personally like, even if they weren't hits. And I would like to see what she's been thinking about as of late. Next, we have Alice Merton. I don't know if a lot of people know of her. She sang the song called No Roots, which I think that's her most popular song. But then I listened to her entire album Mint, and that's really good. I highly recommend it to anyone. I don't know, she's like a mix of like pop and like a little bit of alternative. Like, her album dropped in early 2019, so she definitely could drop another album. I think when I was like creating this artist list, I wanted to make sure that people weren't like retiring her music. And I think over the summer she had a post that said "Be back soon." Maybe that's about the place she was at. Maybe it's about music. Who knows? I would love to hear more music from her. Like, she does some really cool stuff. And if you haven't heard of her, I highly recommend you check her out. Next, I would love to hear AURORA release an album. I loved both of her Step 1 and Step 2. Like, I'm an environmental studies major. If you're talking about the environment and how we need to protect it, like, I'm gonna love it. And the fact that she did that and it was beautiful music, like, I love that. And I'd love to hear another project from her. I know that she's released some singles for stuff, but I don't know if that's for an album or some of those are for like soundtracks or what have you. I know she got a little bit more recognition after Frozen 2 and being the like, so maybe she's ready to have that platform to then release another album. I would personally be very down for it and be really excited to look into it. Next up, I have Avril Lavigne. This is probably one of my most long shot ones because she released an album in 2019 and it was her first album in like 7 years-ish. So, like, the fact that we could get one just 2 years later might not be a thing. I don't know if she's still interested in creating more albums, but I would personally love to hear it. Like, I love all her previous works, especially Head Above Water. That album is so good. And I would really love to see what she has to share with us now. Like, I think her thoughts, especially during quarantine, would be like especially interesting. Next up, we have Bastille. I love his/their music. I don't know if it's really classified as just him or like the group, but like they do amazing stuff. I think Doom Days came out in 2019, and then I know there was like a quarantine like EP thing that dropped that I listened to and it was fine, but I would love a whole album. Like, the thing about Bastille is that they always have like a concept like for the whole album that they execute really well. Like Wild World, love it. Doom Days, also love it. Like, there's just so much good in it. And yes, please bring me more Bastille. Next up, I have Bebe Rexha. Yeah, I know she dropped like Baby I'm Jealous with like Doja Cat, and I don't really recall whether it was her song or Doja's song, but I would personally love another album from her. I know it took her forever to get to the Expectations album, but I listened to several of those tracks very regularly, especially when my mental health was not the best. Like, I really turned to that album. And so, like, I would love to hear how her sound has changed over time. Like, she's done a lot of cool things, and yeah, I just think a follow-up is something that would be interesting to have, and we should have, honestly. I think it's been 2 whole years at least now. I think it came out in 2018, so definitely a 2021 release would be lovely, baby. Next up, I have Benjamin Ingrosso, another one that probably not a lot of people have heard of. He competed, I think, for Sweden for the Eurovision a few years back, and then, I don't know, I just got him in my recommended a bunch, and then I listened to his debut album, Identification, and I really liked it. It was fun, it was groovy, and like, there's apparently teasing on, like, at least Wikipedia says that he's gonna drop an album in 2021. No one knows when, but I think it'd be cool. I'd like to hear more of his sound. I've heard a couple of his singles that he's released since then, so it might be something that's leading up to an album. Next up, I have Beyonce. Please, Beyonce, drop a solo album. Like, very much enjoyed The Gift that came out before, and then I think I listened to, was it Black Parade was the song that they added for the Black is King album? I'm going to be going through Black Parade as well pretty soon. I'm going to do a record and song of the year video. But, like, please just drop, like, another Beyonce album. Like, Beyonce. Like, the Carter's album was great. Like, your stuff with The Lion King was great. Your stuff in, you know, showing, like, how powerful Black people can be. Like, amazing. I love that. Please show me how powerful you can be with your own album. Like, every album that she does is like a whole era. Like, she literally is like the precursor to Taylor Swift dropping Folklore. Like, it was a Beyonce first with her self-titled album. Like, and it was good. And her whole discography is good. And I just think we're at the point in our lives where we should probably have an addition to the discography. I mean, Beyonce, obviously, you literally don't need to do it. Like, but I, as a fan, and I know plenty of other people, would really love if you dropped an album this year. Next up, we have Billie Eilish. She's dropped a couple singles during 2020, My Future and Therefore I Am. And so it makes natural sense that she'd be dropping an album in 2021. But again, you know, there's been a pandemic, so I don't know exactly where she's at in that. But I'm looking forward to a future release from her. I think she has a lot to share. Next, I have Bishop Briggs, one of my favorite vocalists. Like, her voice is just power. Like, I don't know how she does it, but she does it, and she does it really well. And she's done, like, her first 2 releases were within a year of each other. So having one in 2021, like, definitely seems like something that could happen. I personally love both of her first 2 albums a lot. Like, either no skips or nearly no skips for me. And that's impressive, considering especially that I don't really know her for her, like, story. I know her just, like, from her music itself, rather than, like, you know, a Taylor Swift or, like, a Demi Lovato or someone I grew up with, where I have, like, oh, I understand where you've been and where you're heading and where you're at right now. Whereas, like, with Bishop Briggs, like, she carries those vocals so much, and that I just learned so much from her storytelling in her music itself rather than, like, in the news or something like that. Switching gears entirely, the next person who I would love if they dropped an album is Cardi B. I mean, WAP was a success this year. It was a success. I think I listened to it once or twice at the beginning of when it came out, and I was like, okay, like, it's fine. And then I got really, like, aggressively into it. And if that's your lead single, like, everyone's gonna buy that album. That album is already guaranteed to go #1. So, Cardi, whenever you're ready to drop it. I mean, apparently WAP wasn't submitted to the Grammys because she wants it to be considered with her album. So that means she needs to drop it before August. So I'm ready when you are, Cardi. Next up, I have Carolyn Polachek. And if you haven't listened to Pang, like, the song itself is my favorite from the album. But if you haven't listened to the album at all, please do yourself a favor and do that. If you like Charlie XCX, if you like any of these, like, more hyper pop, these more, like, producer type artists. She's a female producer, which, like, is just very uncommon, and I'm just really happy that she now has, like, you know, the energy to manifest, like, her own work that's, like, her songs rather than just, like, producing for other people. And, like, Pang was such a great album, and I would love a follow-up. I know she dropped Breathless, like, within the past, like, month or so, and so, like, that might be a teaser of things to come. I would be very excited if she did. Like, I feel like it would be fun. Next, we have Demi Lovato. I thought Demi Lovato was dropping an album in 2020. I think she thought she was dropping an album in 2020. But then, pandemic. Like, we had so many leads. Like, I mean, we're Sober, which I don't know if that will go on the actual album. I don't know if anyone will go on the actual album. I don't know what the album actually will be. But she's also done I Love Me. She still Have Me. Like, Commander-in-Chief, I feel like probably won't be on the actual album because we don't have that Commander-in-Chief coming soon. So I doubt that will be the case. But, like, she's been pretty active in, like, the singles game this year. And so, like, I'm still surprised that she didn't drop an album. Maybe it just wasn't done, or she really needed to do certain stuff in person with people and couldn't because of pandemic. So hopefully she gets vaccinated and we get that working, because I am waiting for a new Demi album. Like, I would love it if she went back to, like, her kind of, like, Don't Forget roots and she did, like, kind of a pop punk thing with, like, you know, a more mature, not, like, Disney Channel vibes. But, like, something like, you know, being rocked over, because she has the voice for it. I think that would be really cool. Like, I don't want to compare it to like, oh, Miley doing like plastic hearts, but like something that's like throwbacky in the way that like Demi Lovato's powerful belting voice can do. I think it would be really cool for her to do that. But honestly, I'm just happy to get anything that she gives us. Next, we have Doja Cat. Doja Cat revealed in an interview, like, I don't know, summer, fall-ish this year, that she has her third album done. She says she's waiting for the right time to just drop it. So, Doja Cat, I hope the next 12 months, sometime in there is the appropriate time. Sooner rather than later is nice. However, I will accept it anytime you give it to me. Like, yeah, I mean, she's still riding the Say So wave, as well as like her Like That and just the other songs from Hot Pink. So like, I get that she doesn't want to end the era quite yet. However, I think we can do all of the songs and have all of the songs be your own era of just like you existing. I'd like it. Like, I think we won't be ready for the new album. Like, Amala to Hot Pink is a difference, and I think Hot Pink to whatever she is dropping next, I don't think we'll be ready for it. I feel like it's going to be a shift, but like still like the same amazing Doja that we all know and love. Next we have Ed Sheeran. I know that people don't really like Ed Sheeran all that much. I like more of his Divide and Multiply, and Plus for that matter. Like, didn't really care that much for his collaborations project that he dropped in 2019. Like, it just felt like, oh, he's just flexing. Like, this is like a victory lap for him rather than, oh, this is an album I spent a lot of time on. It's more of, oh, wow, I can work with all these people. And I can create cool songs. And don't get me wrong, they're cool songs. But it's not an album. Like, it's not like a cohesive body of work. But I think, like, I listened to the song that he dropped like a week or so-ish ago, and it was good. And like, I think it'd be cool to see what he has to say in the new decade, because at least when I read on Spotify, like, him as an artist, they're like, he's the quintessential artist of the 2010s, and I want to see how he does in the, you know, 2020s. He really didn't do much at all this year in terms of music, so I would be very interested to see what he has up his sleeve. Next up, we have Fall Out Boy. I love, you know, the pop punk emo stuff. That wasn't clear when I was talking about how Demi should do some of that stuff. Like, I think Fall Out Boy should be continuing on their journey. I loved Mania, like, thoroughly. Like, that was a great album from them. And then I know that they released like their second like greatest hits album. Good for them. They've been in the industry for a while. And I hope it's not like, oh, they're done kind of vibes. I would like them to continue and see what they have next. I also really like the I've Been Waiting song that Fall Out Boy did with I Love McConan and Lil Peep. Like, that was such a good song. I think it was one of my top songs of 2019. So I would love to see where Fall Out Boy is now. Like, they still make great music from the past few albums, and I would love to see them continue their music career further. Next up, we have Fitz of Fitz and the Tantrums. Fitz, the frontman for Fitz and the Tantrums, mentioned that he created a whole album in quarantine, and it's like very uplifting and just some good bops. One of them is out right now. I thoroughly enjoy it, and like, did we get some very positive albums this year? Yes. But I think now that we are seeing a little bit of a light at the end of the tunnel, I think that happier pop will be more in style again. And like, it's like, oh, finish line. And like, we're not dealing as much with huge ramifications. Like, it seems like things are getting slowly better-ish. I mean, I don't want to jinx it, knock on wood, but like, yeah, I think like his music will fit in 2021. It won't feel like, oh, why did you release this in the middle of a pandemic? Next, we have FKA Twigs. Magdalene was a great, awesome album. And frankly, I'm just waiting to hear the FKA Twigs Dua Lipa collab in full. And so that's why I'm very expectant of FKA Twigs' album, because like if they have that finished product, hopefully they have a lot of other finished products that they can share with us, because FKA Twigs is legendary. Like, her music is an art. And like this year, I feel like Sawayama was a great stand-in for the fact that FKA Twigs didn't release an album this year, which is fine because she released it literally 2 months before. But I'm again ready to hear FKA Twigs and see what she has in store for us. Like, is her album completely different vibes? Like, I mean, I would say the Dua Lipa collab was very different than most of Magdalene, but honestly, I'm excited to hear anything that comes from her. Next up, we have Florence and the Machine. I loved High as Hope so much, and I would really love a follow-up. She released Light of Love this year, and she released Moderation and Haunted House, I think it's called, in 2019. And like, they all use very similar cover art. So I'm like, is this an album? Please drop it, because Moderation was amazing. Light of Love is really good too. I don't remember anything of Haunting House. It was very B-sidey, soft. It's a good chill vibe, but not the standout, if that makes sense. So I would really like to hear that whole album, if that's a thing, or just hear what Florence and the Machine have been working on, because like, again, they always do amazing bodies of work. I really like everything they've put out. And so I would really love to hear another album from them. It'd be fun. Next, I'd like to hear from George Ezra. He released an album a couple years back, and it was lovely and happy. And the album before it was kind of dark and depressing, but I really liked both vibes a lot. And I would like to hear where he's at now. I don't know if he still is interested in making music. I have no idea. I really haven't followed him that much. But like, I would definitely be down, because just he has this really lovely voice, and I really just like the sonics of all the songs as well. Next, I would like to hear from Hayley Kiyoko. I know she released the I'm Too Sensitive for This-ish EP either early this year or 2019. I can't quite remember. But Expectations was a really good album. The I'm Too Sensitive EP was like fine. I just kind of like listened as it came along and don't remember much of it, to be honest. But I think it's time that we hear a whole album from her again. Like, yeah, I think she has a lot to say, and like, she's just a really interesting person that I would love to get to know more of through her music. Next up, I have Hozier. Please drop an album, Hozier. Like, Wasteland Baby was great in 2019, and your self-titled album was awesome as well. And I just think the people really just want a third album from Hozier, and I would love to have that as well. I'd love to talk about it. I would like to listen to it, but it has to exist, and I have no idea if Hozier's working on it. Please work on it. Please release it to us, Hozier. I would personally very much appreciate it. Next up, I have Imagine Dragons. Imagine Dragons released Evolve in 2017 and then Origins in 2018. So they did a whole quick album cycle, but now it's been a little bit of time, and I'm like, I'm ready. Like, some songs from those still hit. Some songs from Night Visions and Smoke and Mirrors still also hit. And so I am very much ready for another Imagine Dragons album. I think it'll be really good. I know some people don't like Imagine Dragons music. I think it's fun, and I think it's enjoyable. And I would really like to hear what they have to say. Next up, we have Janelle Monae. I re-listened to Dirty Computer a few months ago, and it was thoroughly lovely. And I would love to hear a follow-up. I know she's dropped a couple songs for like soundtracks and stuff. I think she's the lead in some movie that I don't watch movies, so like, good for her. And that probably takes up a lot more of her time. but like all her projects have just been like masterful. Like if you listen to Arch Android, if you listen to Dirty Computer, if you listen to anything that she releases, like she puts her whole heart into it. And I think what I'd like to hear more of in 2020 is people who have been masterfully crafting albums that, you know, they only do every few years. And I think 2021 is a good year for those type of albums to come out. Next up, I have Jess Glynne. I love Always in Between, which is her, I think technically her sophomore album. I don't think I've actually listened to her first album, but like Always in Between is so good. Like almost every song I listen to like regularly. And I would just like a follow-up. Like, please, Jess Glynne. She has a lovely voice. I love her songwriting and like just a fun artist to listen to and vibe to and get sad to and get happy to. And I would love to have more songs from her to accompany my life. Next up, we have Julia Michaels. I've heard rumors that the Lilac This song that came out, like I think it was October, is the lead for her debut album. And Inner Monologue, I personally love both parts a lot. And Nervous System I also really liked. And I would thoroughly enjoy a whole album from her. Especially because I think she's happy, which I think the songs I like more from her are the sadder songs. But like, I think she always brings a cool vibe to whatever she does. Like, her music is so distinct, and if she ever writes for another artist, I'm like, oh, this is a Julia Michaels written song. Sometimes too much, so I'm just like, Julia Michaels, just sing it, please. So I would just really like to hear more Julia Michaels this year. I think it would be fun. I think it would be enjoyable. And also, congrats, Julia, on the Grammy nomination. Next up, we have Kendrick Lamar. I've heard rumors that he has an album coming out sometime soon. I would love to hear it. Like, Damn was good. To Pimp a Butterfly is good. And Good Kid, Mad City, also really good. Like, he doesn't flop. And I would love to hear how he's doing, how he's viewing the world. Like, I'm sure the renewed fight for racial justice in 2020 probably is going to be relevant to any project that he releases. Like, the pandemic probably will be too. And, you know, just his life that he continues to live is going to probably be a big influence. And I would just like to hear from him because, like, sometimes I forget. Like, when I think of, like, rappers, I don't think of him that much because I feel like there are some rappers that, like, they release, like, stuff every month. And, like, it's good and fine. But, like, Kendrick, you can very clearly tell, like, the reason why he doesn't release, like, every year or every week or every month or anything like that is because, like, he has, like, a lot and he's, like, trying to say it in a very, like, impactful way. And it's very dense to listen to an album from him. And you definitely need to be in the right mood to, like, try to understand it. And so I think hearing more from him, and again, like, in that whole vein of please let us have some very masterfully crafted albums in 2021, like, I think Kendrick can definitely bring that home. Switching gears entirely, the next artist I would love to hear from is Kim Petras. We had Turn Off the Light, like, a track from that this year, and she also released both Clarity and the Turn Off the Light compilation, and I heard that there is supposed to be a third volume of Turn Off the Light coming out this year. But I would really actually just love a non-Halloween album from her. I know that might be a lot to both juggle more Halloween songs as well as that. And I'm honestly a big fan of the fact that she literally is like, yeah, I'm making Halloween music. That's fun. Like, go off, queen. Do whatever makes you happy. And also, they're all bops, so love it. But, like, I'd also just love to hear, because Clarity was such a good album, like, I would really love to hear what she has to say and just more songs from her. Like, she's fun, and I definitely like grooving to her. and she's definitely a very escapist type of artist, so I'd love to escape with her some more. Next we have Lil Nas X. I've heard Lil Nas X, like there's a lot of rumors on that, like that this year is gonna be the year of Lil Nas X come back with another project, and I'd be happy to hear it. Like, I don't know if we're going for a viral status or we're going for like what he's going for. I have no idea. And I think that's kind of cool because there's so much to Lil Nas X that we don't really like know, because like since the release of Seven, like he's fully like come out, and I think that's really awesome, especially a person in his standing and a person of his popularity and his background to be open about that. Like, I think that sets a really good precedent. And I think like dealing with that and dealing with scrutiny and also dealing with the fact of being, oh, are you just the Old Town Road guy? Like, I want to hear what he's going to bring. Like, I have no idea. And I think that's what excites me the most. Next, we have Lizzo. She dropped Cause I Love You in 2019. And since then, like, even when she dropped Cause I Love You, she wasn't really, like, that popular. And then it was getting Truth Hurts on all the radio stations, and then Good as Hell doing really well. Like, this is time when we can get, like, an album that, like, not only that she loves, but, like, she can do fully what she wants on it, because, like, she now has a lot more star power. Like, I listened to her music before she was popular, and I think her gaining popularity, I think, will be good for her. Like, it'll allow her to feel like, hey, this is what I want to do, because people are going to listen no matter what, because now I'm more popular. And I'm glad about that, because I think, like, some people let fame go to their heads, but I don't think Lizzo's been like that. I think she's enjoying it and treating herself as she should, but, like, I think she also, like, makes very purposeful music that's really entertaining to listen to and sing along to, but also that's, like, going to cause, like, some good change in society, and we need that every year, so, like, I love that. Next up is probably, I didn't want to, like, rank, like, favorites, but, like, this is the one I really want, and that's Lorde. I love both Pure Heroine and Melodrama. Like, please come back, Lorde. Apparently, like, she said in, like, an email, which I don't know how to get on the email list. Please tell me how to get on the Lorde email list, please. But, like, apparently she has plans to drop an album in 2021. Apparently it was maybe her intention to possibly do that in 2020, but then pandemic, and then also I think she had a pet death, I think. So, like, that was, you know, postponing it. As well as I think she was also teaching herself piano, which, if she can write piano stuff and, like, perform it, like, that would be incredible. Like, imagine Liability played and sung by Lorde at the same time. Incredible. I would get chills. So, like, again, like, we had such an evolution from the first album to the second album, and they're both really so good. I don't think, again, we're not going to be ready for when the third album hits. It's just going to, like, and we're going to be like, okay, we love it, but, like, what happened? Next, in a kind of similar vein, there's a small artist that I got into this year. I just, like, stumbled upon her. I think her name's pronounced Maude Latour. Her spelling of it is on the screen. But, like, she sounds kind of like she's very inspired by Lorde. Like, she had a Starsick EP, and Superfruit sounds very much like a Lorde song. A lot of her other songs sound like Lorde songs, or, like, kind of like indie pop. And I would love if she dropped an album. She hasn't dropped an album before. She's just dropped an EP and then a couple singles. But I would personally love to hear her album. Like, I don't know a ton about her personally, but I would love to. Next up, we have Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj said she was going to release an album in 2020, and then it didn't happen. So please come back. I also would think it would be really cool to hear, now that she is a mother, like, maybe that might, you know, dissuade her from you know, being as open in her raps. But like, I think hearing that would be like really like interesting and mature, because I'm sure that's been a big change in her life, and being like married and all that stuff. Like, there's a lot with that. And so I would love to personally hear like what a new Nicki Minaj album would sound like. I think there's also a resurging popularity of a lot of her older stuff because of like memes and like stan Twitter culture and all that. And so like, I wonder if she could bring back elements of like Pink Friday. I don't know. Like, I just want to know what Nicki Minaj is up to. And I feel like the best way we hear about that is through her songs. And like, we could hear that on some singles, but I would love a full body work if possible. Next up, we have Normani. And please, please, I am begging for a Normani album. Motivation is just so good. And like, that music video is so good. Like, we're ready for Normani as a pop star. We were ready. Hopefully people are still ready, because like, apparently the album was going to drop in 2020, and then clearly that didn't happen. So what's up? Please, we need it. Like, it's like great, because I've heard it, I think it was from Zachary Campbell who mentioned it, is that we don't see a lot of like Black women be pop stars. Like, pop, that's not R&B. I mean, R&B is so much as like it is in pop music already, but like, she's not trying to do hip hop, she's not trying to, you know, do R&B. She's trying to be her and be like pop and Normani herself. And like, I think we need to make sure that space is in the music industry for diversity, as well as just like, you know, difference of perspectives. Like, yeah, like, I would personally just love it. First of all, for the music itself, but also just like what that represents, like her being a successful like pop star, like what that represents as someone who is a Black person. Next, we have One Republic. One Republic had an album, and then they delayed it because they were like, this is the worst time to drop an album. And I'm like, you're not wrong, but also like, some people like broke records with the albums that they dropped in quarantine. So please just drop it, One Republic. Like, you literally came out with like soundtrack stuff and like other stuff during this time. Just drop the album that was already done. Like, it's okay. We understand that it was all recorded prior to the pandemic. Just drop it. Like this thing could last a long time, and we've been waiting for an album from you all for a while, and the singles are really good. So please just drop it. I know you have it. Just hit the release button. Next, I would like to hear from Owl City. I don't know if Owl City is doing anything, but Cinematic was incredible. And if you don't recall who Owl City is, I'd like to make myself believe. The Fireflies guy. Incredible artist. Like, he's talented. And I would love to hear how he's dealing. He's just such an interesting guy. And like, his songwriting is just so cool, and his production, and like, just all of it is just like such an aesthetic. And I would love to hear more of that in 2021. Next, I have Panic at the Disco. Pray for the Wicked was incredible. So was Edge of the Bachelor. So is pretty much every era they've had. So, Brendan, I would love an album. Please don't make it sound like me. And please don't make it sound fully like High Hopes. Like, don't make it sell out to commercial. I want something that's like very like grunge, edgy, like old Panic at the Disco vibes. Like a Vice and Virtues could get down for. Even a Death of the Bachelor, like, I'd be down for. Like, I want some like edgy, it can be still pop adjacent, but like, come on, bring back the sound that you guys are really great at. And yeah, I would thoroughly enjoy it. Like, I hope that Pray for the Wicked isn't his last album. So like, please release it, please. I don't know if you have it, but I would love it. Next, we have Paramore. Hayley Williams dropped an incredible album this year called Petals for Armor, and it was incredible. And she assured us that no, Paramore is not breaking up. So I hope that Paramore then drops their own album this year, because After Laughter was incredible, and I think we need a follow-up. Like, I don't know if we'll keep in a similar direction or we'll go in a more Hayley Williams Petals for Armor vibe, but I would thoroughly enjoy it if we heard any of that or something completely different. Like Paramore doesn't cease to disappoint me, so I'd be happy with it. Next we have Rachel Platten. I don't know if Rachel Platten's doing a lot, but like Waves and Wildfire were both incredible albums that she released in the 2010s. And I know she released a song a couple months ago called Soldiers that I actually just listened to like a day ago. Like I would really like to see that go on like an album, and she has another album. Like it's been a while. It's been since 2017, and I think she could if she wanted to. And it would be fun. Like she's an artist that's just like kind of like fun, and like people kind of forget like her until you say, "This is my fight song." Like you now instantly remember. And so like, yeah, I would thoroughly enjoy her deciding to drop another project for us. Next we have Rihanna. You said R9 was coming in 2019. It's 2021 now, Rihanna. We are clowns. We get it. We're clowns. But like, are you just gonna leave us on Anti and then like not come back? Please come back. I would thoroughly love it if you did, because Anti was so good and all of her discography is also so good. So I don't care where she draws from. She does new elements. Like she's Rihanna. Do what you want, but please release something for us. We're really excited for whatever you have in store. Next, I would love to hear from Rosalia. Rosalia is an artist that I just got into this past year with listening to El Mal Querer and then a couple singles. And it's been a couple years since she dropped a whole album. It was El Mal Querer was her last album. And I think it's time we hear a whole album from her. I think that would be lovely. I don't know about y'all. I would personally love to hear it. I would love to react to it for y'all. And just see where she's at now. Like, she's Rosalia. She's done remix helping, and I think she did a couple singles this year as well. But like, I would love to hear a full body project, because like if it's anything like El Malquera, where there's like a story and a whole narrative that she built, like I would love to hear something similar or along those lines this year as well. Next we have Sabrina Carpenter. Sabrina Carpenter did Singular, Acts 1 and 2, both incredible bodies of work, and I'm ready for a whole album. Like, I know she's done soundtrack stuff and like she does things, like she's doing other things right now, but like if she wanted to make an album and, you know, basically soundtrack the story of my life, I would love to hear it, because she always has a song for how I'm feeling, and I would love her to continue creating songs that represent all the new feelings I discover. Next we have Sigrid. Sigrid is a Scandinavian singer that had an album called Sucker Punch that came out in 2019. It's her debut album. It was lovely. No skips on that album whatsoever. One of my top albums like ever. And I'm ready for her to drop something else. I would love it. I think it would be fun. Like, her music is like, you know, pop, like indie pop vibes, maybe a little alt pop, but probably pretty much like pop-ish. And like, I would thoroughly enjoy it. I think it would be fun to hear anything from her. Like, she can do so many things. Like, her debut album proves that. Some of her non-album songs also prove that. And if you haven't checked her out before, I highly recommend. Next I have SZA. I love Control. It's a great album. And it's been a minute. SZA, please. Please. Like, I know she's dropped Hit Different, and then there was another song that I listened to recently that I did like. I just don't recall what it's called. But I really liked it. So it sounds like maybe she is dropping songs that could be part of a full body of work. It'd be lovely. I would thoroughly enjoy it. And SZA, if you're planning on it, thank you. If you're not planning on it, why not? Next up is another one of my kind of top of the tops is 21 Pilots. Trench was amazing. Trench was so good. And then Level of Concern this year, the great song for quarantine. Would you be my little quarantine? Like, perfect. So please drop another album. I don't care if you advance your sound, if you go back to basic, like wherever you go, you always have something really interesting to say. And when you're ready to release some music into the world, I'll be ready to listen to it, like at a moment's notice. Next, we have Victoria Monet. Victoria Monet dropped what is theoretically the first third of Jaguar this year. And I really liked it. And I'm just waiting on the other 2/3 because I'm sure they're also going to be incredible. So I'm waiting on them. Hopefully they do arrive, at least one this year, if not both. Like, bold for her to make her debut album 3 parts. Like, that's playing with fire there. But, like, you know, I'm here when it's ready. When it's ready, I'll take it. I'll enjoy it. Like, it was good before, and I'm sure the new stuff is also going to be amazing as well. Then we have Walk the Moon. Walk the Moon hasn't released much. No, they released What If Nothing, I think that was 2017. And then they released Time Bomb in 2019. And I don't think they've released anything in 2020. And I think it's time to hear Walk the Moon again. Like, you remember Walk the Moon. Shut up and dance with me. So very similar to like Rachel Platten, in which you have like one song from the 2010s that very much like is a vibe. But like, you do so many songs that are also incredible outside of that. And you evolve also as people. Like, if you haven't heard from you in 3 or 4 years, you're probably different than you were 3 or 4 years ago. So I would thoroughly enjoy hearing what the Walk the Moon has to say. Like, it'd be good. Like, their music is good, and I'd be interested. This next one is perhaps a long shot just because their album dropped in late 2019. But I would love another Water Parks album. Fandom was really good. I got into Water Parks pretty much during quarantine and got obsessed with Watch What Happens Next. Like, obsessed. And then, like, I listened to all their previous work. Really like it, too. I need to go back into it some more. But, like, I would love to hear where they're going because it seems like Fandom was a big evolution for them. And I think it'd be really interesting to see where they go next. Like, or drop some live performances. You probably have dropped live performances, I just haven't seen them. But I would personally very much enjoy it. It'd be lovely. And then finally, to round out our chart, this is also possibly a long shot because I know she did technically release music in 2020, but I would love to hear more from Willow, aka Willow Smith. Like, I think my favorite album of hers is her first album, the one that has Wait a Minute on it. Like, it's probably the most suited towards my style of listening. However, like, she's just really interesting. Like, the Anxiety album was great this year. And then, like, just everything she's done is just interesting. Even if I don't like it necessarily sometimes, like, it's all interesting and I have to think on it. And oftentimes I end up coming to the conclusion that I do like it. I just couldn't like it at first listen. And so I would love another album from her that does just that. Like, I know she's busy. She's also young. So I don't want to, like, pressure her to do too much. But I would personally love to hear whatever she has to share with us. And that brings us to the end of all the artists, not all of the artists, but 50 of the artists who I would love to hear an album from in 2021. So some of them have already announced they are dropping an album. Some of them have not. Some of them have teased it. Some of them are dropping hints. And some of them, it's just like time. Like, it's been a couple of years. Please, we're ready for more. And, like, I don't think any of these have a specific date that's been set. Hopefully that doesn't become obsolete. If there are any dates, if you're watching from the future and certain dates for some of these artists have been set, please let me know down in the comments below because I will definitely want to react to any of these that happen. Like, some especially because y'all would also like it. But like, I'm going to be listening to all those albums if they drop this year because like I'm excited. Like if they come back, like if all of these, which is bold for me to assume, I'll be doing check marks on my thing as I go throughout the year. But if all of them, or even like 2/3 of them, dropped an album, like it'd be a really good year for music, I bet. And yeah, overall, just genuinely excited. Again, hope your new year was well. Please let me know down in the comments below what artists are you hoping drop an album this year, or have already announced that they're dropping an album this year and that you're looking forward to listening to. What artists that I mentioned are you also really excited about? And yeah, I think that pretty much does it. Hope you're having a good start of the new year so far. I know it's only been a couple days, but we'll power through this year and become stronger than we ever were. If you like this video, please like it. Please comment down below if you'd like me to react or listen to next. Please subscribe to my channel if you're not already and you'd like to be. And thanks for watching. This is Trollstormer. Catch you later.
It's storming turtles from out of the sky. Turtles, don't need to know why. Smile big, open your eyes. It's storming turtles, it's storming turtles from out of the sky. Turtles, don't need to know why. Smile